true indeed with you. Holy Circle Gaming, thank you for rocking with your boy like always. Definitely a privilege and an honor to do as such like always. Y'all see what we getting into. Something a little bit different. Some Gauntlet Slayer edition. As y'all see, I'm rolling on the side. In this particular gameplay, let me tell y'all for a little bit. This is my very first go round. My very first run. I'm doing this blind with this Gauntlet game. Really kind of a little bit different for me because first and foremost, I know a lot of people's already had their hands on it for a period of time, but I kind of waited for it. The first reason why I waited to get this particular game because I wanted to get it at the right price first and foremost, and by waiting for it, I actually got it for free, got it through the PlayStation Plus. It was definitely a good look. So definitely from my first run of this game, I'm actually enjoying the game a lot. So you could kind of consider this a video review. You could consider this just me kind of commentating over the gameplay, however way y'all want to see fit. But I'm gonna give you like a little bit of my thoughts and ideas about this particular game, similar to what I did on my live stream, but I wanted to give you a recorded real technical breakdown of what I think of the game so far. Just like I told people on my live stream, I'm going to tell you on the recording just the same. This particular game is a partial throwback to the old school Gauntlet game and a reimagine of it to a degree where they're going to be doing some things a little bit different. Here's where it's like the Gauntlet game. You see this particular section right here, how the enemies kind of come in waves and in waves and in waves. That is really a throwback of the old school Gauntlet games, as you well see. But it doesn't take on the, at least in the beginning stages of it, it doesn't take on the frenetic pace as the old school Gauntlet game was. Like back in 1985, one of the things that I learned about Gauntlet then was it was extremely hard. It was never designed to be a single player experience. It was really designed to be a multiplayer experience at its core. You know, big old huge arcade system, big box, 4 people, all 4 characters have different abilities, and you got to use just those 4 characters with limited upgrade abilities to try to do the best you can to get through as much of the dungeon as you can without dying, unless you was planning on popping in a lot of quarters. Now, back in the day, I popped in a lot of quarters in this game on the original Gauntlet and was not successful at all. In this new version of Gauntlet, what you kind of see is you still have a little bit of those elements that Gauntlet has, but believe it or not, it really feels like a Diablo game. It feels like Diablo Light. I think that's the best way I could describe this game for you. You see how the waves of enemies are coming out right here? That's similar to what you would get in a Diablo game. Enemies will come out, they come out in waves. But different than Diablo, and this is why I was trying to kind of explain to people before, and I want to kind of expand on it. This game is good from an arcade point of view, but it doesn't have the depth. Now, it is good. I'll tell you what, if I was going to try to tell people how to really kind of dive into Diablo, this would be a good example game to try to get the hack and slash elements without going into the deep depth of getting like, you know, this particular armor, this particular shield, this particular greaves on your like legs and shoulders and all that stuff. And you see how the waves of enemies come and they kind of just like power through you, and you just kind of have to just like smash and bop. You'll see a lot of that in this game, but it doesn't have the development that you would need in Diablo. So it's kind of like an arcadey version. Like if Diablo was in the arcade version, it's Gauntlet. And I know that Diablo took a lot of elements from Gauntlet because the gameplay is really similar at its core. Hack and slash, get through as much of the dungeon as you can, try not to die. That's the same thing that you would get in Diablo. It's the same thing that you would get in Gauntlet. Gauntlet is just, it's more of a user-friendly, easier, you know, I ain't gonna say easier because believe it or not, it's really a little bit harder because you don't have a lot of the extra elements there as far as like getting your weapons developed faster, crafting it a certain way to tailor-made to your play style. It's a little bit harder because you're still going to get the similar waves of characters. You're still going to get, you know, enemies are going to come at you in various ways, and your job is to figure out what the method is to try to figure out what these enemies do and how do you go about beating them. And as you saw, you know, I was encountering new characters in this juncture of the game in my first go round, and you know, it was my job to try to figure out how to go about it. This is what I like about the game at the core. You see this portion right here where I'm kind of spinning around and stuff and I'm going through the waves of enemies. I like that a lot. You know, it does put a lot of pressure on the game, meaning that it does make you have to respond, or make you have to respawn, or make you have to think about really what you're doing in this particular game. It is very good in that regard. And also I have some like dungeon crawling elements where you do have to utilize certain like barrels and stuff to get through certain areas, to pass through, to open up certain like sections of the game where you could get special stuff, mainly gold. Gold is at a premium in this game. Gold is the currency. Gold is how you develop your character. Gold is how you you know, get your character to be much better. So this is where you see me trying to figure out what to do with this barrel. This is my first gameplay. I didn't know what to do as far as like getting the barrels to light up at this juncture in time. I figured it out as I played this game more behind that, but this was the first time I actually I was trying to figure out what to do, how to get the barrels lit, because I really didn't have an idea, so I'm just throwing all 4 barrels there. I didn't know. I thought I was supposed to go through that section, and I was completely wrong. What I was supposed to do, and which I don't think I even figured it out at this juncture, is I was actually supposed to hit those things, and I really couldn't figure that out. I was looking for the fire, I was trying to look for a key, I was still trying to figure out what to do with the barrel. I was trying to move it around. I didn't know what to do with these barrels at this juncture in time. And I know everybody who was looking at me trying to figure out like, oh, can I break it? Can I break it? I didn't know. I didn't know what to do with the barrels. That's funny. But that's part of the game about the Gauntlet game, because you still have to think your way through. It's still like little environmental things in the game that you really have to figure out. But like I said, kind of like Diablo. Diablo took elements of this game, incorporated into its own, just expanded upon the concept, and made it very, very well. I tell you another thing I like about Gauntlet 2. I like it that when you actually do get a chance to play a multiplayer, it is really frenetic. It's very like chaotic, and you really have to know what you're doing in order to get through, in order to pass through the levels. And if you don't know what you're doing, and if you're not playing as a unit, you will understand like how many times you're going to die through this game. And that's the one other thing I learned about Gauntlet. I think I mentioned it before, but I'll mention it again. You will die a lot in this game, because the first couple of go rounds when you're playing this game, it's going to take you a cool minute to figure out what you are doing. That's one. But I will give a shout out, man. Shout out to Arrowhead Studios. They are a great team. This is not their first go round at a game like this. I think this was one of the first ones they did, which was Gauntlet. They followed that up with Helldivers, made by the same squad, and both of which are very good. Helldivers is an exceptional game, definitely worth the gameplay if you haven't played that game. Gauntlet is worth it too. There are 2 different styles of gameplay. One is more like futuristic military style. This is more hack and slash, but both of which is really good. So shout out to Arrowhead Studios. Y'all are doing a phenomenal job. Keep it up. Keep doing the good work. You know, the one thing about another thing about this game is that, you know, from like character, the 4 characters that you're able to use, actually I think it's 5. The 5 characters that you're able to use are all vastly unique, vastly different, and it kind of caters to particular game style from a basic point of view. I just wish that you can expand upon what you could do with each character as far as like weaponry and shields and swords. I wish you could do more of that, because you're so used to Diablo at this juncture that playing this game, it kind of makes it like a drawback a little bit, not having those pieces to actually up and jump through and be able to develop your character more. But I like what they did with each of the characters. Definitely a good look as far as like the 5 characters that you're able to use. The level design is very solid. You do, even for an arcadey feeling game, it's kind of like how you felt in Gauntlet. If you were throwing quarters in the game, you was definitely getting your quarters worth, unless you was getting mopped in the first couple of waves of enemies. but you are definitely getting your money's worth out of it. Now, if you paid the $19 or the $10 or even $5 for the game, it's still worth the money. Yeah, I got it for free, but I would have paid for this game either way it goes. And look at me kind of slicing through. That was kind of official. I kind of like the little spin action. There's some other, I'm working with the warrior right now, by the way, and when I'm working with this warrior, there's a lot of good things that you could do with the warrior, and there's an elf that shoots arrows, and there's a lot of fresh things you could do with that with that character too. Those are the two characters I worked with thus far, leading into the recording of this video, and I'm gonna work with the other ones as I go along, but I definitely like the game. You know, definitely enough to keep you interested, even from a solo point of view, but it's designed to be played multiplayer, so keep that in mind. So, I like that. I like the level design. I like the character design. I think each character is different. I like how they utilize the mummies. I like how they utilize just your regular minions. I like the little totem pole action where they keep just spawning and spawning and spawning. So it does put a premium on you kind of knocking out the totem pole, the totems first. There's a lot of good things in regards to like going about beating the game, and you can kind of think, and you really have to think your way through. In the midst of the chaos, it's not the fact of you just barrel your way through. You really have to think about how you're going to go about playing the game, how you're going to go about defeating the enemies, how you're going to go about trying not to die. That's really what it comes down to. I mean, if there was a mantra about this game, try not to die. That is the mantra, and as you saw, it just died right there. But that's what it comes down to. Trying not to die, trying to stay alive as much as you can. That's what I truly like about this game. Like I said, I think like the blood and gut aspects, if you like a lot of blood and stuff, it's going to be enough blood, enough blood and guts there for you. I ain't gonna say it, I mean, it's not for kids, and the reason why I'm gonna say that is not because it's anything like overly graphic, but if you're a stickler about not letting your kids see a lot of blood splatter around, this does have a lot of blood splattering around. You can see it on the floor as you kill the enemies. There is blood that kind of splatters out. So I ain't gonna say it's for like younger kids. It's not for younger kids for sure. I think for teenagers, I think teenagers will be fine with it, to be honest with you. And I'm a parent, so I'm a big person I'm big about how kids and what games kids should play and what games adults should play. And this kind of falls in between. This kind of falls into that teenage category. If they're teenagers and they can understand it's just fantasy blood and guts, I think you're good to go in that regard. That's what I can tell you about it. You know, I just kind of like it. I like the pace of it. I like the varying enemies. Like I said, you see how I just died again? Wow. You see how that little, like that big old, like mummy just kind of clapped me on the side? The other thing I like about it, when you respawn, you don't respawn exactly in the spot where you was getting mopped up. They actually give you a chance to kind of resituate, get away from danger first, and then go ahead and jump back in. I like that aspect too. Most arcade games don't allow you to do that. This one actually does. So it's actually very good. So, like I said, again, shout out to Arrowhead Studios. Y'all had this game, double back with that with Helldivers, both of which is dope. That's another thing. I need to get into some more Helldivers at some point. Shout out to my boy Shujinko. He actually put me on to that and really got me playing that Helldivers, which actually gave me a nod about Arrowhead Studios. And that's what led me to play this. And there's a couple other games I want to get into as well. But this is definitely a good game. So if you haven't had a chance to, definitely get a chance to play this game. I'm pretty sure that you will like it a lot. One of those, and this is another one of those games that if you had like 3 or 4 people at the house, this is one of those games that you can actually kind of kick around and play at the house. So it's definitely, like I said, well worth the gameplay, well worth the money. If you have PlayStation Plus, it will be more of a premium to actually get your hands on it and do it for free. So that's how we're going to do it, y'all, man. So you see how I just cleared that board. You'll see kind of the leveling up process. And again, I appreciate you rocking with your boy, man. This is true indeed. For Holy Circle Gaming, we'll do it again soon. God above everything. Salute.